everyone, my name is Jenny. I teach 3rd and 4th at ILE, and today I'm going to be talking about why do organisms compete. So some of the key vocabulary words I'll be going over will include competition, limiting factor, carrying capacity, niche, symbiosis, and the types of symbiotic relationships. So why do organisms compete? It's because the resources are limited. If we had unlimited resources, we wouldn't need to compete. And then the competition doesn't just exist between species. It actually exists within the species as well. So what I'm trying to say is foxes don't just compete with bears for rabbits. Foxes will also have to compete with other foxes. So it's tough, okay? And that's where limiting factor comes in. Limiting factor is anything that limits a population from growing. We can say there are biotic limiting factors and abiotic limiting factors. When we say biotic limiting factors, we're talking about like the number of producers that live there, amount of like prey animals, like amount of food you can eat. And when we say abiotic limiting factors, we're talking about things like the type of soil that's there. Is it good for growing crops? How's the weather? Do we get enough sunlight? Is there enough water? Is there enough space for population to grow? So typically, if a place is well lit and it's warm all year round with plenty of water for everyone, it is going to be able to support a lot more populations than if it were cold and dry. So then in that cold and dry environment, it's the lack of water and the cold temperature that will play as a limiting factor that will limit a population from growing. So if I use my classroom as an example, I have 14 chairs and desks in my class. So those chairs and desks are limiting factors. It limits the number of students I can have in my classroom. Okay, and then carrying capacity is the maximum number of an organism within a population the ecosystem can support. So going back to my 14 chairs and desks. So because I have 14 chairs and desks in my class, I can have up to 14 students. So my carrying capacity would be 14. So sometimes if there was a way to avoid competition, and if you could do it, that'd be great because it raises your chance of survival. So that's where the niche comes in. Niche is like the special roles organisms adapt so that they can increase their chance of survival. So let's say there were 2 birds that live in the same place and they eat the same food. So then there's 3 possible ways that these birds won't have to compete with one another. First is by being active at different times of the day. So if one bird went hunting during the day while the other one went hunting at nighttime, then they wouldn't have to cross paths and they won't have to compete. Okay, get it? Secondly, they can do it by eating different types of food. So if one bird ate berries while the other ate, let's say, insects, then even if they were to go hunting during the same time, like both go hunting during the day or both go hunting at night, if they eat different food, they don't have to compete. And the last of all, for whatever the reason, let's say if the birds both have to be active at the same time, and let's say they both cannot give up eating insects, then last thing they can do is eating different parts of the same food. So for instance, one bird can eat all the legs. I mean, there's plenty to go. And then the other one can eat the heads or the torso. So then that way, even if they're active at the same time and they eat the same food, because they eat different parts of the same food, they don't have to compete. So if I use my friends and I, for example, when we go eat chicken, I only like to eat the wings. But my two friends, one really likes the legs, the drumsticks, and then the other one only eats the white meat and she eats the breast. So when the three of us go eat chicken, there's never a fight for the, who gets to eat the last drumsticks. Okay? So that's a way to avoid competing. But living things don't always compete. They also engage in this long-lasting relationships called symbiosis. And there's 3 types of symbiotic relationships. The first one is called a mutualism. And then this is where you have 2 organisms that engage in this relationship where both are benefiting. So this is what you call a win-win situation. For instance, the pollinators and the flowers. The pollinators get the sweet nectar from the flower, and then flower gets its pollen moved so it can reproduce. So it's a win-win for both. Another example would be the oxpecker and the rhinos. The oxpecker eats the pests that bug the rhino, so that oxpecker gets food, and rhino gets rid of the pests. So that's a win-win for both. Do you understand? Okay? And then the second type of relationship is called a commensalism. Okay? And this is a type of relationship where there's one that is receiving a clear benefit without harming the other. So the second one is like, I don't mind. That's okay. So a good example would be orchids and trees. Orchids climb up a tree so that it can stay above the forest floor. And then tree obviously doesn't receive any benefit, but trees don't mind it. Another example would be ray and remora. Remora rides on the back of the ray, and then remora gets to eat the food scraps. He gets a free ride, and then he also gets protection, while ray doesn't get harmed, but doesn't benefit from this relationship at all. Okay? And then the last type of relationship is called a parasitism. Okay? This is the one where you have, obviously, one that will benefit, but the other is harmed. Okay? So parasites often live in or on the host body and benefits from the relationship while the host gets harmed. A good example could be fleas and dogs. So fleas live on dog's skin and it sucks blood, so then it gets food and also home, while dogs are left with itchy, irritated skin. So obviously flea's the one that's benefiting, while the dog is harmed. Another example would be mosquitoes and humans. Mosquitoes suck our blood, leaving us with, these itchy red marks, and not to mention these, many sleepless nights because we're, doing that. So the mosquitoes obviously benefit while humans are harmed. Okay? But parasites, what's interesting about this is that parasites will, most of the times, will only harm the host but never kill the host. It's because if you kill a host, not only do you lose a food source, you also lose home. Now, who wants to be hungry and also homeless? Exactly. So they cause harm, a long-term harm, but without killing, or often without killing the host. Now, that concludes my lesson for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed my lecture, and I'll see you guys in my class. Bye!